Welcome to the consumer behavior class. I am Professor Mike Neffel, and we are going to go through today the introduction to consumer behavior, chapter 1 in your book. I want to start off by letting you know a little bit about myself. I am a person that appreciates very brief project submissions. I'm what you would describe as a back of an envelope type of guy. If you can sell me an idea on the back of an envelope, that's great. If you can't, you need to summarize it one more time, shorten it up, give me bullet points. You'll notice that many of the projects we do this semester, there'll be a one-page minimum. And that is actually, to give you a little practice in marketing, is the skill and the art of summarizing mountains of information into very clear and concise recommendations. And many times those recommendations are put forth in a series of bullet points. So anyway, just want to get that out there right now so you know you have an idea of what we're looking to accomplish here. Start out, we are going to get into consumer behavior. And I like this quote by Benjamin Franklin, which is quite a long time ago. If you would persuade, you must appeal to interest rather than intellect. If you would persuade consumers, you must appeal to interest rather than intellect. Interest being the emotional appeal, intellect being the rational appeal. We're going to get into that a little deeper in a few minutes, but even way back then, they knew how to get people to do what they wanted to, and as they say, get in their pocket. Consumer behavior, the study of the processes involved when individuals or groups select, purchase, use, or dispose of products, services, ideas, or experiences to satisfy needs and desires. The key word here is processes. Consumer behavior is a journey that goes from identifying a need or want. Some pops in your head, hey, I need this, I want this. And then all the way through selecting a brand, because there are alternatives and competition for almost every brand and product out there today, and how the cognitive influences that you receive on a daily basis for each brand and product. And these are all things that we're going to study this semester. So that is the definition of consumer behavior. The process involves selecting, purchasing, using, evaluating. Those are the 4 key components involved. Each one of those has a complete, we could have a pot of coffee discussing each one of these, but those are the key components of consumer behavior in the process. It's a process that's always on. Should be no surprise to you. With the internet and social media, there's a constant stream of advertisements and marketing messages coming your way, which provides an ability for immediate action, both from the consumer and from the brand management and the brand marketing team. These people know what you're doing. They know what you're posting on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and these other things. From that, they can tell what you're interested in, what you like, what you don't like, and they're going to try and generate a sale. That's their job. Google and Yelp reviews, very well read, and a lot of people refer to reviews before deciding on which product or brand to go with. And I would tell you right now, the higher the cost of whatever it is you're doing, the more people are going to look at these reviews. So that is something to consider that is always there. How to use and best in category videos. They're out there for every single thing under the sun. You want to find out about that, which I'm sure you already know. You go to YouTube and type whatever. Best oven under $500. there's going to be pros and cons for Whirlpool and Frigidaire and LG and all the other brands of ovens out there. But it's a process that's always on. Consumption, the ongoing process that includes how we observe and make sense of the world, choose and purchase things, communicate our identity and sense of self in society. All these things are really tied together. The observe and how we make sense of the world, choose and purchase, communicate our identity. That is a very key driver in consumer behavior motivation. The motivation for consumer behavior is our own sense of identity. And we're going to get, we have an entire chapter dedicated to that, actually, that we're going to study. But, and how it's shaped and the influences that make us who we are, not just us, but everyone. You know, the ethnic backgrounds, the communities you live in, rural versus urban, suburban, where the groups of people, your peers, they all influence your purchase decisions. And we are going to study how to add influences to those purchase decisions. The value equation is something that I am I think it's very important. It's very important to know. It's not in a book. You don't find this too many places. And it's a bit logical, I think, but at the same time, the value equation is extremely important when you're studying brands. And it is, in essence, the value equals perceived benefits versus cost. And the word perceived benefits is somewhat new because it used to be the value equation years ago was quality versus cost. I'll pay for higher quality depending on the cost. But now you've got perceived benefits. And these benefits include quality, of course, ease of obtaining. I'll just put the word Amazon out there. They have pretty much taken over the category of making things easy to obtain. Makes my life easier. That's a value attribute. Will this, whatever it is that I'm looking to buy, make my life easier, or does a different brand make it easier yet? A confidence builder, return policy, another one, is part of the value equation. Some brands now are starting to charge people what they call slotting allowances if you want to return something. Yeah, you can return it, but you're only going to get 80% of what you paid for it. Or that's just an example. But there are brands out there doing that. The cost, which is the other component of the value equation, of course, dollars, which is the rational thing, time and the energy to obtain. Time, how much time does it take me to purchase this item? How much time does it take me to secure the item? Do I have to go someplace and pick it up? Will it be delivered to my house? Will the delivery require me to sit at home because it's going to be delivered at some point between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m.? There are companies now that are tightening that window up to 2 hours. And some of them actually will text you from the time whatever it is that you're buying is loaded on the truck. And so you can get within a 30-minute window of when it's going to be at your house or office or whatever. So time and energy to obtain are very much costs that are part of the value equation. And this is a key component to understand when we're talking about influencing consumer behavior. And the value equation is different for, I would say everyone, but really the different segments of consumers have different value equations. Consumers are human. Sometimes we lose track of this, but they're creatures of habit and slow to change. Part of that, creatures of habit, slow to change, when you're working as marketers and someone comes up with a new idea and, hey, we need to market this, we got to put some ads out there. And so you go and develop an advertisement or a digital campaign, a social media campaign, and After a week or two, nothing happens. Sales don't go up, they don't go down, they stay the same. And people start questioning, did it work? Did it work? Well, it's working. Um, there are two key numbers that I think you should know about in marketing. One is the number 3 and one is the number 7. Maybe you've studied these before. The number 3, it's called the power of 3. And the power of 3 says that humans need to hear or see things 3 times before they even realize they exist. And I'll give an example. When you're watching TV and you see a commercial come on TV and there's a telephone number or a website address given at the end, you just watch. It's given 3 times. Call whatever number, call whatever number. And oh, yeah, by the way, call whatever number. 3 times. 3 is a magic number. 7 is the number of exposures humans need to see on average before they consider a brand or product something that they would like to research more. On average, somebody has to see something 7 times if it's a new product or a new angle or a new advertisement campaign before they say, oh, wait, I need to look into that. Maybe that's for me. So the numbers 3 and 7, creatures are of habit, slow to change. Simplicity is key. When you're dealing with humans, keep it simple. You don't want to overload any marketing messages. Overcomplicated appeals will confuse. And that I get back to the power of 3. Whatever you're promoting, don't promote more than 3 things at a time. Even if you have many more things to promote, develop different vignettes or ads or commercials and take 3 at a time and promote them that way. The bottom line is to communicate the benefits and repeat often. More people hear or see your product or brand messages, more likely they are to investigate further and begin their path toward purchasing. Identifying the consumer. This might sound logical. However, is it a buyer or the gatekeeper? Decision maker or recommendation provider? Authority make what you're looking for is who is the authority to make the purchase. And this goes anywhere from a standard household unit to a single person living in an apartment to a business to business transaction where you're dealing with a corporate purchasing department. A lot of times before someone buys something, they'll run it by some friends or run it by family or get a piece of advice. Hey, what do you think? Is this a good deal? And in that case, you need to know who is it that's influencing them. So when the consumer behavior is impacted by other people, and this includes the social media influencers, which we're going to get to in a minute, but you want to identify the ultimate consumer. Who is the buyer? And I use the term gatekeeper to describe people who may collect information, make short lists, and then submit these things and say, well, look, if you're going to make this purchase, here's 3 brands that I would recommend. All 3 satisfy what we're looking for. So those are gatekeepers. And many times they make a final recommendation, but they don't have authority to actually sign off. And the person with authority is the one you want to understand if you are to influence a consumer behavior into a purchasing decision. Motivations to consume. There's 2, rational and emotional. Look at this little ad that is placed on this page. Big, strong, tough guy. Everybody knows the Hulk turned green and hurt himself. Well, a Band-Aid took care of that. This has both rational and the emotional appeal to it. Rationally, the Band-Aid stops the cut or stops the whatever it is that it needed to cover up. And emotionally, the big, strong, tough person there, it feels better. And That is, so basically there's two motivations to consume, rational and emotional. Furthermore, we get into the motivation of a need versus a want. These are a little bit different, however, in the same ballpark as rational emotional. A need you must have to live. You need water. You need, it's good to have shelter, meaning a house or an apartment or someplace to go when you're not outside, versus a want, which is an uh, emotionally motivated. And that is when you intentionally shifting your thoughts to align with your desires. So you want something in your mind, you create a reason why you have to have it. And the example I'll use of that is anytime you go in a gas station or a drugstore, and if you go up to the checkout counter, just put your arms out, totally put your arms out left to right. Everything in front of you is want items, candy, gum, um, electric or the USB charger cord. You probably, right now, this time of year, you're going to see lip balm and some other things, which you probably already have lip balm in your pocket or your purse, but it's there. And these are called impulse items, which are emotionally driven wants. Uh, Sometimes you need it if your lip balm is gone and it's a really dry day and this and that. But for the most part, these are wants: candy bars, gum, breath mints, what have you. And we are going to study the consumer behavior that drives these decisions throughout the course of this semester. We live in a branded world. Brands enable consumers to identify a particular company, product, or individual. Brands tell potential buyers what it does, what it means, and the cultural values it stands for. Here we show a picture of the Chiquita banana. Once a year for 4 to 6 weeks, they put a pink. They go for that pink. I believe that's breast cancer. And with the lady on the Chiquita banana, it ties right in. And bananas are healthy. You want to eat these and things like that. Chiquita is known for being a very good brand. And Chiquita also is one of the brands that has trust and confidence attached to its brand name. And those are very key words because not all brands have trust and confidence attached to their brand name. Chiquita does, and later on, we're going to get into some case studies that you'll see how Chiquita achieved that. But we live in a branded world. American consumers, they believe in brands. They loyal to brands, and to get them to change, you really got to come out with a good reason why they should change whatever brand they use. Brand positioning, here again, is something that's not going to be in the textbook, but it is the definition. It's very important to understand brand positioning in terms of consumer behavior. Brand positioning is the psychological and rational attributes attached to a product that make it unique and preferred in the minds of consumers. Psychological and rational, psychological being the emotional, and rational attributes attached to a product that make it unique and preferred in the minds of consumers. And I stress the words unique and preferred because there are some products on the market that are unique, and because they're unique, they're not preferred. They just have maybe a weakness about them, or a something about them just isn't right. A lot of I can tell you from personal experience, there are some lawn equipment items that are made out of plastic that they don't last one use. They break. Personally, I look for the ones with metal or some type of heavier material, but I've had the plastic ones and they just break. So therefore, it's unique in that it's shaped. They can shape plastic different ways and what have you, but it's not preferred in my mind. Um, And in brand positioning, that is how, excuse me, when you get into the competitive marketplace and you say, how's our brand different than another brand? What do we say? And you start studying the competition. This is where you really identify what is it that makes you different, and of the different attributes that you can brag about, for lack of a better term, which of them is the most preferred and going to motivate consumers to choose your brand. So very important to understand the term brand positioning when you're dealing with consumer behavior. Brands appeal to emotions and desires. Again, what benefit, real or perceived, do you offer that others do not? Picture here, I run like a girl, keep up. What that implies is with Nike shoes, this lady's challenging anybody, guy or girl, children, adult, like, come on, let's go. The confidence is there. You put the Nike shoes on and you have confidence that you're going to go the distance, you're going to go possibly the fastest, whatever the challenge is, you're going to meet it. And they use somewhat of a common term, oh, you run like a girl. Well, yeah, okay, keep up. And that is got the perceived benefits, because I suppose if you did the science, you could probably find some rationale for that statement, but that's really going to create an emotional attachment and a perceived benefit. What you want to do is command the attention by appealing to multiple senses. Here, again, when it comes to consumer behavior, taste, texture, and smell influence our evaluations of many brands. And a good digital marketing presentation will get people to feel, taste, and smell with their eyes. I know some of you are majoring or studying digital marketing, and it is a challenge, but very doable to show experiences where somebody might be tasting or feeling something or smelling something, and giving a good reaction to that experience. And that is how you grab attention and get people to, hey, I need to find out more. Oh, wow, that looks good there. It's pleasing to them. It's going to possibly be pleasing to me. And here we start to interject the word influence, which is the influencers. And we all know that's a very powerful way to promote your product now on social media with the influencers. And it's again, you see these people at the point where they become very key influencers when they have the trust and confidence of the consumers. They are promoting taste, texture, smell, all kinds of things to people that are watching them, but they're bringing things to life. Next, I want to talk about two extremely important attributes: time and money. And this gets back to the value equation. And this discussion that I'll give you my point of view, and maybe you have a different one, but at the same time, it is very much which has greater impact on consumer behavior, time or money? So let you think about that for a second. It's my opinion that it is time, and here's why. Give a consumer time and they can make money. Give a consumer money and they cannot make time. Time is a limited commodity, if you will, and it just keeps moving forward. And if you can save somebody time, which is commonly referred to as making time, you're going to get their money. And there are all kinds of case studies out there right now that have shown where companies have studied the market, realized, hey, we can save people time by doing this or doing that. And they've become very successful. One of those case studies is National Car Rental. Years ago, National Car Rental was one of the first car rental companies to really go big with technology in terms of making the transactions of renting a car, tracking who has the car, checking the car back in when it's returned. And it paid off. Now, I'll give you a little side note, which has always intrigued me. When it comes to the car rental business, anybody who's been to an airport knows you get off the plane, you go walk by the car rental units. National's colors are green. And they were at this time, they were number 3. Avis and Hertz, the number 1 and 2 companies, Avis is red, Hertz is yellow. Now, if you're dealing with car rental companies, you're dealing with, if you think of a standard traffic light, red, yellow, green, red means stop, yellow is pause, and green means go. I would think National had it nailed right there when they chose the green color. But they really ramped it up a bit when they started to study consumer behavior and realized people were just crazy, aggravated with the lines waiting for cars. Anybody that's flown on an airplane knows when an airplane and National really they make their money at airports. That's where their primary consumer segment is. So when they studied airports, like what are these people doing? Well, you're on an airplane. When the airplane is landing, right before the wheels touch the ground, you got the little light that blinks on, says, don't unbuckle your seatbelt. And someone comes over to the speaker and says, please remain seated until the plane lands. Neither of those messages are adhered to because you can hear seatbelts unbuckling all over that plane. And as soon as those wheels hit the ground, people are starting to stand up and grab their luggage from the overhead. And it's a bit of a momentum. Okay, we're here. We made it. The flight's done. Let's go. Let's get off this plane so I can get to my car, get to my business meeting or my leisure trip, whatever. Now that we're here, let's go. Well, National Car Rental decided to come up with a feature called the Emerald Isle Club. There's no need to stop at the counter. Just choose any car in the Emerald Isles and go. So you rented, mostly it was a mid-sized car, and everything's ready. You just come out there and there's people walking around. They scan you real quick, make sure you are who you say you are. They had the little handheld computers and they give you the keys and off you go. When you bring it back, you just pull up in a certain area, throw the keys on the driver's seat, and you can walk off. And someone will come back and scan the little barcode on the windshield, and you're good. Benefits of this: fast and convenience, a time saver. National Car Rental did extremely well with this, and they moved up on the car rental agencies charts. I don't think they ever completely overtook Hertz or Avis because actually Hertz and Avis had better corporate programs than National, but National became a major national player with this Emerald Isle concept, and it was all about saving time. Excuse me. Consumer profiling. I want to move into now an area that is really the guts of studying consumer behavior, profiling the consumer. This allows brands to immerse themselves in the minds of their target audience and identify things like likes and dislikes, the values they hold, what excites them, shopping habits, and how these consumers gather information. Benefits of consumer profiling is it helps you define your business problems. You will be able to understand how to increase loyalty. Consumer profiling allows you to improve cross-functional collaboration internally as well as out in the market. Internally, you will have maybe the billing department can work and understand what some of the salespeople out in the field are facing when they're talking to prospective customers. Of course, consumer profiling is necessary for proper targeted marketing, improve operational efficiency, and ultimately it is a key element to increase sales. Benefits for businesses, insight into consumer issues, aligning products and services to address these issues. Identifies motivations that generate positive responses, just like saying what do these people like, what they don't like. Profiling will enhance brand loyalty once you develop your campaigns, and it provides direction for improvements that matter to your target audience, ensuring your brand stays relevant and competitive. Think back to that case we just looked at with National Car Rental. They got the insight into consumer issues. What's the issues? I just don't want my momentum stopped. I'm on the plane. I made it, especially if you take a 7 a.m. plane and you're going to land someplace at 9 and you have a 10 o'clock business meeting. That plane lands. You want to get off that plane, get in your car, get where you're going with time to spare to possibly review your notes, whatever. National Car Rental did consumer profiling, understood the consumer behavior, and all of these things came true for them, and made them actually more relevant and more competitive. Main types of profiling: the actual person, the actual consumer, demographic profiles, geographic profiles, psychographic profiles, and behavioral profiles. Demographic profiling, the simplest way to classify your customers. You gather basic information such as age, gender, income, marital status, education level, and there's others that is included in this, about your target audience. This helps you to start to put as I say, starts to help you put a face to your primary target. It's used as a starting point to understand your target's consumers' desires, needs, motivations, challenges. And this is all good. It's a good place to start. However, when you want to get into really what's going to influence your target customers, you need to start looking at geographic profiling and location influencers on consumers' beliefs, behaviors, motivations, urban versus rural versus suburban. When you're living in different parts of any market, any major market, you're going to be influenced by different things. Sometimes you have to drive 10 miles to go to a big box store. Other times you can literally walk down the street. Global brands must consider different countries and cultures. So beyond urban, rural, suburban, you got to consider different geographies and countries and cultures. I'll give you an example. Years ago, Chevy had a car named the Nova. Well, Nova translates to doesn't go in Spanish. So here's Chevrolet, which they had the Nova, which was a pretty good car, and gave some car enthusiasts, excuse me, a nice foundation, because you could soup it up, make it a hot rod. They go try and sell the car in Spain or Mexico. They didn't do too well because the customers are coming up going, oh, the name of that car doesn't go. It's a loose translation, but that's pretty much what it is. And so they eventually phased the car out, but that should have been understood ahead of time by talking about geographic profiling. Even in the United States, where we have enclaves of Mexican and Latin Latinos that very much converse in their native languages. Nova. Oh, wow. Who got that car? Anyway, the term that has been created is transcreation, the process of adapting a message from one language to another and maintaining its intent, style, tone, and context. Very important when you're dealing with consumers. And nowadays, with the global market, I would say you need to consider this transcreation concept, no matter what you're doing. Psychographic profiling, details of what your ideal audience thinks or feels that provide insight into their personality, values, attitudes, and lifestyles. Here is where we start to uncover the emotional wants and needs of your target profile. To establish an emotional connection with your customers, you must appeal to their psychographics, lifestyles, attitudes, interests, beliefs, emotions, values, aspirations. There are brands out there right now that have carved out real nice little niches going straight at psychographic profiling. Two of them that come to mind. One of them I'll say is Ben and Jerry's ice cream. They are very big on promoting their support for causes and their help with just organizations that they want to be known as do-gooders, as well as making premium and fantastic ice cream. They want to be known as do-gooders. Another brand that has done this is the brand Toms, Toms, and their line of shoes that are natural, and they do a lot to save the planet and do a lot of things like that. Agree with it or not, doesn't matter. They've carved out a nice niche, and I think they're the ones that every time they sell a pair of shoes, they send a pair to an orphanage or some places where they may need some assistance. But it's I think it may be a different brand I'm thinking of, but it's but Tom's certainly, if they are not, that came into my mind. And you can see how they're influencing consumers. Psychographic profiling, very important. Here's an example. People's attitudes shifted because of inflation. This happened a couple of years ago. It's still happening now. 2023 U.S. Brand Sustainability Benchmark Report found that 70% of consumers switched food and grocery brands to save money. Well, what did the brands start to do? A practice called shrinkflation. When people were shifting from, say, for example, Lay's potato chips to local store brands, Lay's potato chips didn't lower their price. They just made the bag smaller, selling smaller packages without lowering the prices. It's one way that as they studied the market and saw what was happening because of inflation, well, we'll just give them less. And it would take somebody maybe 2 or 3 purchases before they realized, wait, this is a smaller package. Understanding the psychographics can help you adjust your products, services, pricing, and messaging to deliver the value your consumers seek. And again, these are all based on psychographics, and it's very important. Behavioral profiling, buying habits and behaviors through the buying journey, provides actionable insights into customer engagement and purchasing patterns that may have gone unnoticed. Analysis of the customer's decision journey and the buying on-ramps and off-ramps helps you to predict warning signs of a lapsed customer, which reduces churn and boosts brand loyalty. This is something that really starts to get into the psychological patterns called behaviors that, and in studying this, you will uncover, as they say, actionable insights into customer engagement, and really knowing the on-ramps and off-ramps. Nowadays, these are commonly referred to as pain points, or the off-ramps are pain points. And how do you reduce the pain point? I don't understand that, because it seems a bit traumatic. It's an off-ramp. You're just not interested in that product anymore. You look at I just use some of the beverages. Sugar is getting kind of a bad rap right now. So some beverage, some of the soda pop companies are doing sugar-free, and they're doing aspartame or some other natural sweetener into the pops and the juices and what have you. And other ones are going the exact opposite way. I know Coca-Cola has an original line that they've put out with the real heavy sugar content, but the taste is pretty big, and they're trying to carve out a niche that way. So anyway, studying the behaviors and the patterns of what people do from the time they recognize they need something until sorting out the different brands available, all the way through selecting one and purchasing it. And this can happen. It certainly can take months to do, as if you're going to buy a car or something. But it can also happen in a matter of seconds. When you're standing at the counter and deciding, do I want a Hershey bar or a Mr. Goodbar or a Reese cup? Um, what makes you decide which is which? So, behavioral profiling is something that the brands with the impulse items, as well as the higher priced items and everything in between, very important. Behavioral profiling provides actionable, profitable insight. How frequently are customers making purchases? What are they buying along with your products? Are customers shopping with you in store, online, or both? What channels are they finding you? What channels are they engaging you through? So they may see your messages on some channels, but what channels are they actually clicking in through? This all comes from the analysis of behavioral profiling. Converting profiles into buyer personas. Buyer personas are semi-fictitious characterizations of your ideal customers based on your research and other data your business has. They align different parts of the organization with the shared goal of creating and delivering compelling and consistent experiences to meet the needs and desires of those personas. The importance of buyer personas, they are prerequisite for personalized marketing. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you really don't know everything there is to know about your target consumer, target buyer, what triggers activate their need for a product and what influences their choice of brand, it's prerequisite to get really into the personalized, as they say, relationship marketing that is so key today, all the way from awareness to influence to engagement to converting and actually closing the deal. Buyer personas inform and provide direction for product development, optimize lead generation and lead conversion rates. They help you tailor your messaging to appeal to your target audience. Very important. Creating a buyer persona, it's a step process. First, you research your existing customers and find out what segments are most likely, and this is where you do your demographic and geographic analysis. You identify patterns and common responses and research findings. This can be quantitative as well as qualitative. You start to look for patterns to really focus, get your existing customers and start to develop a primary target audience. You build a buyer persona for your primary customer, who they are, what they want, and the media and motivations they respond to. This tells people how to talk about your products. The above research and the analysis you're doing gives you indications of what these people need to hear, what they need to see, and in terms of influencing them to purchase your product. It's very important when you're developing a buyer persona to give it a name like Millennial Molly or what have you. It brings it to life, all the data that you've collected. And right at the very beginning, when I introduced myself and said, a big part of marketing is having both the skill and the art to know how to properly condense mountains of information into very concise and brief analysis and recommendations. And when you do a buyer persona, it is very important that, and I always say, put a name to it, bring it to life, so that when somebody's looking at your little, your bullet points or the items that you've discussed to describe and give them an idea of who it is we're target marketing to, it has a name, and it just helps to bring it to life. Before we get into the next slide, I just want to kind of go through, we've gone through a lot of things here in this presentation, the introduction to consumer behavior, and really getting into target marketing, the different ways to understand things. And it all boils into the buyer persona. Here is the Millennial Molly. This is an example of a buyer persona. I think it's a very good example. And you look at the little captions in each one of these boxes that are put together to help anybody looking at this in a company understand, okay, what is going on in the minds of our target consumer? Sure, we sell things to other people who are not in our target consumer group, but where is our primary opportunity for making money and making more money from the things we sell? Who do we need to reach out to, and who's going to respond? You have that bottom paragraph. Millennial Molly is looking for a way to eat more fresh food, lacks the time to plan meals herself, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, this is, I think, a very good example of a buyer persona. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to kind of get a jump start on everything and actually hand out the midterm project right here. This is your midterm project. It's not due until February. But what you're being asked to do is create a buyer persona for a DIY kitchen and bathroom remodeling consumers. Home Depot has identified an opportunity to increase its market share in the DIY kitchen and bathroom remodel category. Home Depot has hired you to create a buyer persona for the primary customer that Home Depot should target for this new campaign. The assignment is using the buyer persona template for Millennial Molly, right there, as a reference guide. Create a buyer persona for kitchen and bathroom remodeling customers. I'll give you a tip here. If you know someone who's remodeling their kitchen and bathroom, just go talk to them. You can use what you know about them. Requirement: provide source identification for the primary and secondary information you gather for this project. Please include your source information. I get projects submitted without source information. I automatically deduct points if there's no source. Even if you say, hey, you know what? I used to work at Home Depot and I know this from firsthand experience. Good, put it in there. Understand this concept. And the reason I'm saying this is firsthand experience. I witnessed it when I worked at Home Depot or Lowe's or someplace. That's fine. If you use AI, and I'm sure many of you will, please just reference the website or the URL of the AI, wherever you picked up the AI information from. I actually encourage people to use AI. It's here. You're going to need to know how to use it when you move on into your career. So if you're using AI, just reference the website where it came from, information gathered from AI, website. Project value is 150 points. Submit online to Canvas. It's due February 7th by 11:59 p.m. And the reason I'm putting the midterm out there right now is to give you plenty of time to understand. And as we go through the semester, you'll see, you'll learn a little bit more about how this is done, but get you to start thinking about it. Few things you should know. We call this housekeeping. Textbook is Consumer Behavior, Buying, Having, and Being. 14th edition. Make sure you get the 14th edition. Attendance policy: miss more than 30% of class meetings or weeks, you receive an F. Students who do not attend the first 2 weeks will be dropped from this course. Withdrawal date, the last day to withdraw is Friday, February 14th. Grading, we have weekly assignments, quizzes worth 25, 50 points each. Midterm and final are both worth 150. Teamwork, you can work in teams on any project that includes the midterm and the final. All I ask is that make sure you include all team members' names on the assignment submissions. All team members will receive the same grade. If you could, just make sure you put, if you worked with other people in teamwork, and I encourage it, working on teams is a lot of learning just from the teamwork aspect of it. But please include whoever was on your team or group. If you want to work alone, that's fine too. That's no problem. But I would get papers and it would have one person's name. And then as I'm going through and marking, I'll see 2 or 3 other people who didn't turn anything in. I had to contact, say, hey, who's in the team this time? If you work on a team, put the people's names. Content sources, I just went over that. Make sure you list your sources for all content you submit that you had to research. If you use AI, list the URL, AI discussion use. Points will be deducted for any submission that does not show the sources of information used to develop the project. You can put these sources at the end of a page. You can put them all on a page at the end of your analysis, your project submission. You can just look sources and just bullet point the various sources that you use to come up with your analysis. Week 1 assignments. Here we are, read chapter 1 and chapter 2. There will be some quizzes in Canvas. You'll have to complete the chapter 1, chapter 2 quizzes by Monday, January 20th. Also, there will be some discussions that are posted, and I'm going to ask you to provide your thoughts for the following discussions in Canvas. First one is, how can brand managers influence consumer purchase decisions if consumers become more reliant on AI assistance? Here's what I mean by that. You got Alexa, and I think Siri can handle the same thing. It's so easy. Hey, Alexa, I need paper towel and I need dish soap. And then a couple days later, okay, Alexa, place the order. Well, Alexa decides what brand you use based on the algorithms of the most purchased brands, what have you. If you're a brand manager for Procter & Gamble and you want your Tide laundry detergent to be on top when someone tells Alexa to order laundry detergent, how do you do that other than having everyone you know go on Alexa and try and rig that algorithm? Just get some thought to it. What can you do? I do know Alexa looks at online reviews. That's a hint. And there may be some other things, but discussion, how can brand managers influence the purchases? Second discussion, thinking of a good friend or sibling. Number 1, describe a want they have. And 2, explain what you think the motivations are for this want. Now, again, want is something you don't need, but you want. And so what is it? Thinking of someone, describe a want they have or had, and maybe they went and purchased something, and explain what you think the motivations are. Social status, personal reward, is it a bucket list item, a mood adjustment? The mood adjustment, many times it gets into the food category. People think if they eat some chocolate or an ice cream bar, their mood's going to change. Whatever you think it is. And those will be posted on Canvas. So that's it for the first chapter. So I will see you later. Stay tuned. And again, welcome to Consumer Behavior.